Hi there, this is Matt Schofield, creator of Steamroller Man, and I'm going to talk you through the process of creating this page of my comic. I had the idea to have Steamroller Man and his companion in this adventure, Night Knight, face a giant marshmallow-headed monster who would be called Marshmallow, and the letters in Marshmallow stood for multi-armed, really strong, highly mutated artificial life form living only for walloping. Strange name, but the name and the character himself is a parody and homage to a Marvel Comics character called MODOK, whose name stands for modified organism designed only for killing, I believe. And I've always really liked MODOK, and I've always liked characters with big heads. I think graphically that's a really cool design choice, and so I tend to be really fond of making up characters that have oversized heads. Marshmallow and Steamroller Man are cases in point. So I was really designing the character on the page here, and originally he was going to only be called Mallow, but then I had the idea if I add a second set of arms to him, I can call him multi-armed, really strong, and thus call him Marshmallow instead of Mallow. And so a lot of this, what you're seeing in the time lapse here, is me kind of designing him on the page and working out the proportions and stuff of how the character should look. At this point, the pose is very symmetrical for Marshmallow, and we will eventually get to a point where I start messing around, trying different poses. I'm just drawing Steamroller Man here. Steamroller Man's head is 5 times as wide as a regular human head and 2 times as tall, which you can see with my little sketch on screen right now. And beside him is Night Knight, who is a sleep-themed superhero, and he wears a pillow on his head as a mask and a blanket as a cape. But both those guys are going to be in silhouette in this composition to better highlight the first appearance of this new character, Marshmallow. So yeah, here we go with I'm trying out different poses for the arms. Also, I always find it a good idea to just rough in the word balloon as part of the composition, because when I know a character is going to be speaking, I want to make sure I've given enough space in the composition for the word balloon. So you can see that I've roughed that in red up above. And so now I'm trying to get away from the symmetry of Marshmallow's pose by turning his body and having all the arms doing something different from each other. Spreading the legs really far apart, as the great Marvel Comics artists of the 60s and 70s would always do, as seen in the well-known How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way book, which I had as a kid. At this point I realized, oh, this is supposed to be the title page. I hadn't given this story a title page yet, and I think this was already around like 8 pages into the story, so I thought I've got to fit that somewhere. So now I'm experimenting with how that's going to fit with all the other elements of the composition. And this purple pencil you're seeing here, I was also toying with the idea of maybe an upshot with a lower perspective would look better, but ultimately I abandoned that idea and just go with what I had. You'll see me just delete this level in a second. So yeah, here we go. Just trying a little bit more a different pose on night night, trying to get the musculature correct. I usually pull out my books on human anatomy when I'm drawing Steamroller Man, especially if there's something like the back muscles I found very difficult to draw when I first started trying to draw them. So it's always good to have some kind of anatomical reference to work from. And now I'm doing my tight pencils. This isn't ink. This is just a very tight pencil line, and I tend to put the line. I draw the line weights that I want the eventual ink line to have in pencil, because I feel like it saves me time when I come to do the final ink pass. Even though I'm working digitally and I can erase my ink lines in the computer, I still like to just work in a way that would be similar to traditional media, and so I still do a tight pencil pass because that's what I would do on paper if I was working on paper. So yeah, I'm just tightening up the figures at this point in the process. The kneecap is something that I've struggled with drawing in the past. I think I'm better at it now than I used to be, but again, it just comes down to practice, and using reference I find really helps a lot to get my drawing better. I gave Marshmallow only 4 fingers on each hand and 4 toes on each foot. I just thought that would not only be easier to draw, but also make him look a bit more alien and strange and not a human. He is an artificially created life form. Yeah, this was really fun to draw all these crazy hand poses and the muscles and stuff, giving him a real kind of, superhero physique. It was very fun to draw. With the little shorts, that's something Jack Kirby would have done. I am a big fan and admirer of Jack Kirby's artwork, so I'm always approaching my work with an eye to how would Jack Kirby have done it. So here I usually sketch out a rough version of Steamroller Man's head, but then I import a 3D model of an oil drum, because that's the closest thing I found in the Clip Studio 3D asset library to the shape of Steamroller Man's head. So I usually import that just to make sure I've got the dimensions correct and the perspective correct, because it's always harder to, it's very hard to draw circles in perspective. So just having something to do a final check before I put my final line down, that's a good trick I use that I can do with Clip Studio Paint. So now I'm on to the inking here, which, because I've worked out all the ink lines in pencil, this is really just a matter of putting the ink line down and trying to get the correct line weight on each line. I am very particular about things like the cross hatching and the hatching and the feathering, which is those little ink lines to give the forms some dimension. I do get very particular about having them evenly spaced and all looking just right. I'm very picky about my inking. I want it to look as good as I can possibly get it. I'm influenced by inkers who have a very clean ink line and look to their art, like Dave Stevens. I love his artwork. Daniel Clowes, Charles Burns, all can do very slick inclines, so I try and get the same quality in my inking. So yeah, I just popped the resized that arm on the his left arm, upper arm, on our right, just to make it look better and not be overlapping his, not tangenting with his head so much. That's one of the advantages of working digitally, I find, is you can make these small corrections in the sizes of things and the placement of things, just to make sure it's working exactly how you want it without having to redraw the whole thing. So yeah, now I'm adding some just background details. He has cables coming off the back of his head, but that's a story point that is not revealed until later. So at this point I wanted to put them in there but not make it obvious where they were coming from. And now I'm just doing some digital painting. This is just sort of experimenting to try and get some texture. I like having a lot of texture on the ground. It's supposed to be just a cement floor in the location where they're at the moment. So yeah, the spotlight thing on either side I didn't end up going with. Didn't make sense to me. But yeah, so then this is almost the end. I got the word balloons in and just doing the final rendering of the tones, and it should be done in a minute. And there we go. Thank you for watching, and please read Steamroller Man.